get to it. So, with me today, I have author Ed Anderson. He and I have been friends for a while now here on Substack, and we're even part of a secret organization we can't really talk about too much. So,
You know the first rule.
yeah, exactly. So I decided to have him on today and talk about what he's got going on in the world of writing and Substack and all that, and introduce him to anybody who might be interested in his work.
I'm glad to be here. I've been looking forward to this since we started planning it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too. I've been wanting to have you on for quite a while now, and so I'm glad that I have like a long list of people in my messages, and it rotates because I'll have different people message me and stuff. So then like other people get buried in the list. And then, so finally I managed to, find you in there. Uh, like I said, uh, communicate outside of, Substack here and there, but, that's, a whole other, club and organization nobody gets to know about.
I like being part of a secret organization.
Me too. Well, hi everybody. We got Brandon Elric just joined. We got Catherine. We've got Lynette. How's everybody doing? They're not going to reply. I don't know why I asked that. I'm waiting to listen to them saying, "Yeah, we're good." That's not going to happen. So, this is Ed Anderson. To anybody who
Hi.
doesn't know, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, Ed?
Hello. I have been writing true crime for 10 years now. I've actually been writing for 20. I've written the gamut. And lately I've been more into humor, like trying to just be funny and get away from all the seriousness because it's it gets to be too much sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. It does. It does get to be too much sometimes.
One of my favorite stories recently was the Afro Man trial. Did you hear about this?
I've seen little clips and snippets, and I've seen all the memes that have come from it, but I didn't actually take the time to go look at the real full blown what happened. So why don't you tell me about it for a second?
The TLDR is basically his house was raided in 2022 under suspicion of drug and human trafficking, and they like broke down his door. They were holding guns to him and his kids,
Wow.
and they didn't find anything because he's a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah.
And so he was really frustrated with how things went and how they treated him. And he wrote songs about it. The most famous one is Lemon Pound Cake. And the officers got really upset because he used footage from his surveillance cameras and video that his wife took. So they sued him. And it went about as well as you would think. Like, my having covered a lot of these like weird trials,
Hmm.
I have to say I never thought Cardi B and Megan the Stallion would be part of a real lawsuit. So basically, the defense called one of the sheriff's ex-wives to the stand and asked her if she knew what WAP was. And if she thought that Cardi B was being serious when she talked about needing mops and buckets. It was just insane.
I mean, just that alone, that's funny to ask in court.
I yeah, um, and the sheriff actually accused, um, Afro Man of being the reason for his divorce, and the ex wife was like, No, it was the other women that led me to divorce him.
That's funny. Yeah, that was the problem. It wasn't me, it was the other women. That's actually hilarious.
The best thing yeah. The best thing is all these songs have gone viral now, so these cops too thinking that they were gonna get, a few dollars and embarrass him, and instead, they've made him millions more.
Yeah. That's funny. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, I know I'd seen a little bit of it, I'd seen, like, all the like I said, all the memes and everything like that around it, but I hadn't gone and, checked out exactly what it was for, but yeah, that's funny. I'm glad that it worked out for him. It would have actually been, irritating if the cops had been allowed to sue, especially because it's his property, his cameras, his footage, that would have been a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I was really glad when the verdict came back the way it did. And, like, my TikTok, like, lit up with all these commentaries saying that justice won and
Yeah, I know that that was like the meme is that like he's patriotic and more, American than most people who claim to be American and
Oh. Just him taking the stand was iconic, like, he dressed in an American flag suit, his attorney matched him.
that's where that came from. Okay, that makes sense. That's actually really funny. I'm glad that that worked out. I've I can't say that I listened to all of Afro Man's music or anything like that, but I've listened to a few songs over the years. Um, so I'm glad it worked out for him. But you said you're trying to get more into the humor side of things, so you're trying to write more like humor pieces, or what's going on with that?
I was trying to write more humor pieces, and then I got inspired to write a script. Um, it w I was watching a TikTok video, basically where, um, it was a tarot reader, and she was describing, like, this grandma who was playing matchmaker from heaven, and I was like, "That's actually kinda funny." And in it, she actually said my name, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So the premise of it is, a grandma is in heaven, and she's, like, watching her gay grandson, and she's like, "Okay, no, like, he doesn't get to choose his partner, I'm gonna choose for him." And so she comes back down to Earth with the grandfather, and, like, chaos ensues.
As they try to find a perfect match for their gay grandson, is that what you said?
Yes.
That does sound funny, actually. That sounds like something I would watch.
I, like I've been wanting like I said, wanting to just laugh more because the news is so serious lately, and
Yeah,
with with what's going on around the world, it was like I needed a break from reality.
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's, I got to that point, myself as well, as it got to, be, like I've said a few times here on the show, the repeat listeners will, know exactly what I'm about ready to say, I think, it got to the point where I was like, there are some amazing minds who cover the news. I don't wanna be one of them.
Yeah.
I don't I'll go find something else to do. So I started, sharing the animal videos, started to write a little bit differently, changed up my style a little, and it can be difficult at first, but I think that it's been worth it in the long run. I've gained more subscribers, free subscribers and paid subscribers since I've been doing that. So it's been going a lot better, I think, and I don't feel so like uptight. I don't feel like I hate to open up my phone or turn on my computer because I'm like, oh my god, what are these assholes doing today? I don't want to even fucking know. So,
Yeah.
it's a little bit better, a little bit more. I can sleep a little bit easier. I mean, I don't sleep well still, but I sleep a little bit better.
I was gonna say, what is this sleep word you speak of?
Oh man, I don't know anymore. It's been so long. I can honestly not remember the last time I had like what one would consider a good solid night's sleep. I don't remember.
Same. I, I was talking to my best friend, he moved to California, um, but they moved to California because of the election, and so we were talking, we were joking around, and in 2016, I had been in class, and he texted me really worried that, who was gonna win, and I was like, "No, don't worry about it, Hillary has it in the bag, like, he's winning the states we already expected him to win."
Mhm.
And fast forward to 2024's election, and I said the same thing. And so I am now banned from ever saying that string of words again.
Yeah, I God, especially in the 2016 election, I really did not believe he was going to win. Like, I really didn't. And then honestly, the 2020 election kind of surprised me when Biden won because I figured Trump would go 2 terms in a row and then it would be done. I kind of wish he would have, honestly. Like, not that I wanted him to be president 2 times in a row or anything like that, but it would have got it over with, you know? We'd be done now, man. It'd be over, you know? And so, but now we've still got fucking 2.5 more years at this point, you know? So God dang it. If we even get like a fair election, you never know how it's going to go. They seem to be trying to rig the system right now or something. I don't know.
I think they are, but I'm also really loving the Democrats fighting back and saying like, "Yeah, no, we're not gonna do this."
Hmm.
And even some of Republicans are like, we think you're overstepping now."
Yeah.
It's fine to do everything else you were doing, like all the illegal deportations and whatever, but this is a step too far.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, it was the way. So like, I live in Idaho and it's pretty, dark red, especially now it's gotten to the point where it's downright maroon. And so it's crazy the way that people act here is they literally say things like they want to make it unbearable for liberals to live here. I mean they're atrocious human beings, and so it's interesting to see like places that go full blown liberal and where it's kind of the exact opposite. I've never lived in one of those places. Even my little ventures outside of Idaho, I lived in Georgia and then I lived in Florida, so I've never actually lived in a liberal state. I've barely visited liberal states, and I don't have any idea why. It's just happened that way. It's not like intentional, so but it's
I
interesting to watch, like, the politics across the country and how people are fighting back.
I lived in New York for a while, uh, during his first term, and it was just amazing how, like, how much people in the city actually really do hate him. Like, I thought a lot of the time I thought it was just me, like, because I am super liberal. Surprise. Um, but, I thought it was just me, and I got into a conversation with someone who I actually thought was MAGA, and he was like, "No, I hate him. I want him impeached. I want him removed." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, and just the stories that flowed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't I mean, there's still people I see all the time, certain even I even have friends that will post, "Remove Trump," I keep waiting for the day I wake up and they've impeached him, and I don't think it's gonna happen. That super majority they have to get in order to get rid of him, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be removed. I think we will have to deal with him. I think we'll be able to temper him a little bit more, and at least that's what I'm hoping, and with the midterms coming up, and we're expected to take at least the House, and now I've heard the Senate, so
Yeah, I don't well, the thing is like I used to believe some of those little polls and things, but I don't anymore because, they've been wrong, just blatantly wrong so many times. And I just kind of am like at with this mentality now that I'm like, oh, I guess we'll just see. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I because it's I don't know. There's so much like, interference going on. There's so much, quote unquote rigging going on that it's hard for me to believe any side of the argument or any side of the predictions right now, because people on the right are like, we're going to take it all this time, and people on the left are like, no, we're winning, and so it's like, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't know.
I'm not looking at the polls, I'm looking at the special elections, and those are really favoring Democrats this time. I think it was last night that there's a Democrat for the Florida State House won the area where Mar-a-Lago is by a really hefty margin.
Hmm.
So that's giving me a little bit of hope, at least that we'll be able to, like I said, take the House back. And historically, that's been what happens in the midterm of any president.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean that it would be great to see a little bit of balance return to the United States because it does kind of seem like it's one sided right now. And I'm not like a lot of people. You yourself probably know I'm more of a centrist than anything. And so I like balance. I like the idea of there being responsible, intelligent, conservatives and responsible, intelligent, liberals, all in politics because there's different areas of the world where like for instance, the area where I grew up, if a liberal tried to go run that area of the world, I mean, it wouldn't go well. It just would not go well at all. They'd get destroyed. And so it's just there's certain parts of the country where I do honestly believe that a good intelligent conservative, which I know some like there's a guy Joseph Evans, he's running for Idaho Senate. And he's an incredibly good individual. I mean, he's heading up like for now, like he's heading up the Idaho Cannabis Coalition to try to get medical marijuana legalized. But he is a Republican. He is what you would consider a conservative. He served in the army. He's airborne infantry. But he's a damn good guy, and I would trust him to actually lead individuals more so than MAGA because he fucking hates MAGA. He considers them to be the most atrocious fascists. As for don't quote me on that. That's just essentially like the vibe he gives, not his words. And so
Yeah.
and there are good conservatives. People believe me, trust me. I know that some people don't believe that because of the current political field, but it's true. There are.
There definitely are. And I'm a big believer. Like, first of all, I don't like the two-party system. I wish we had more parties because I think we need more balanced ideas. But if we're going to be stuck with a two-party system, we need two healthy parties.
Yeah.
And one of the things, because I love history and I've been kind of like going back and looking at things, we're not more divided now than we've ever been. If you look at
Yeah.
the election of 1800, it was very contentious, and Jefferson only won because Hamilton was like, "Yeah, I want someone with convictions instead of this guy over here who will say whatever it takes to win."
Yeah. Well, and we aren't even as divided as we were like during the civil rights movement. That was incredibly an inflammatory time for our nation, and people were incredibly split. It was, again, just similar to the MAGA movement, where family members were saying peace out to family members. That was a thing that was happening during that time as well. And then you look at the Vietnam War and the hippie movement that came along with
Yeah,
that. Another time we were incredibly divided to the point where I do believe, yeah, U.S. troops ended up firing on college students at one point in time.
yeah,
And so we have been divided before. The problem is right now is one, the 24-hour news cycle has now taken steroids and is now like the 24/7 every second of every freaking day. No matter where you go on your phone, you're going to find divisive news stories. And so it's just gotten into the minds of people to think, oh God, this is so bad. This is so scary. And there is some aspects that are horrible and just terrifying, but not all of it. And so
I I don't think social media has really empowered people to be ruder and nastier than I think they would. You know, I live in Michigan now, in a more conservative area, and there was one house that had, like, just, you know, their whole personality seemed to be Trump,
Yeah.
and I ran into them one day, and I was like, "Oh god, I don't wanna talk to you, I don't wanna talk to you."
Yeah.
And I ended up talking to the lady, and she was actually very nice, and she was like, "Most people don't wanna talk to me." I'm like, "Well, yeah, because all you seem to wanna talk about is Trump," and she was like, "Yeah, that's not me, that's my husband." Which I don't know if she was telling the truth, like,
Right, right.
but, um
Yeah.
but I'm like, you know, I there are extremists out there. I just think they're very far and few between, and we've seen his support really wane.
Yeah. Yeah, I do believe, from just what I see online and stuff, I can't remember his name, and I guess it's probably best if I don't, but he's a guy from Utah, and he has been on, my friends list on, Facebook for years, and, he just, a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, he was defending Trump, in, most capacities, for, anything you could think of to defend Trump with, he was. And now, I've noticed the last few weeks, I see his posts when I'm scrolling, and, he's like, Trump betrayed us, Trump lied, and so for individuals in fucking Utah to be flipping into being like, "No, Trump is crap," that's kind of big, that's a pretty red state as well. And so everything but Salt Lake City is pretty dark red like Idaho.
Oh, are you of the belief that we should welcome former MAGA people, like, embrace them, or keep them at a arm's length?
Well, so I've known two different types of MAGA individuals. There's the inflammatory MAGA who, use every derogatory term they can think of to describe people they don't agree with, and try to be as insulting as possible when they're having a debate or discussion. And I think those individuals are just bad people. I don't think that it is dependent on MAGA or Trump or the Republican Party or anything like that in order for them to be bad people. I just think that's part of who they are. And so, but then I do believe there are individuals, I have a couple of friends, on my phone that are full support of Trump and voted for him all three times, who are respectful individuals, who I do believe that after the Trump nonsense dies down at some point in their life, they will acknowledge that it was, a piss poor situation for our country, to say the least.
Yeah. I have family members who voted for him, and for me, it was, especially, like, directly after, I was like, "Why? Why would you do this?" And then I realized, from their point of view, he w he was going to do everything he said, like, bring down prices and all of that, and I was like, "But that's not how this is gonna work," like, you know?
Yeah.
But one thing I've always said about Trump is he's very charismatic. He knows how to work the media, and
Hmm.
he knows how to work a crowd. And I don't think any of the 3 Democrats he went up against were able to do that.
No, not like
And
him. He just, you're right. Like, it's definitely a type of charisma you can't bottle or even really replicate. And I've seen, like, I've seen other Republicans and I've seen Democrats try to come out with that same type of Trump energy and just absolutely fail and fall flat on their faces because it's something that he does and does well. And so in that regard, not that it's been used for any sort of good, it goes back to that whole, Peter Parker, and his uncle, with great power
Yeah.
comes great responsibility. Trump has no fucking responsibility for his power at all. Trump is like, with great power comes great fuck you, and that's kind of his thing, and so yeah, he's a showman. That's a good way to put it, Lynette. Donald Trump he's a showman. He knows how to put on a show and keep the camera on him, which is what I think 90% of his shitty posts are. I don't know what percentage of what he says he actually believes, but he just comes off as so phony and fake. I would be willing to bet he doesn't hardly believe in anything besides himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing, and that's one of the things that, like, what my time in New York taught me is that he he will go where the money is. So if he thinks he can grab a couple $1 billion by speaking out against Iran, that's what he's gonna do. If he thinks he can grab a couple $1 billion by saying, "Oh, let the gays stay married, I don't care," that's what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he does it in such a way where, there's a reason why The Apprentice was NBC's highest rated show. He knows good TV. He knows how to work the system, which and I love Kamala. I love Hillary. I think they would have been great presidents. But when you're up against someone who can work the media and can get people whipped up into a frenzy, you don't need policy wonks. You need someone to fight fire with fire. I would have loved to see him go up against AOC because she's the perfect amount of intelligence and I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, she definitely has her own kind of charisma as well, and so she's an interesting individual. It'd be funny to also see him go up against a cool, suave individual, such as like Peter Buttigieg. Because there's no way for him to rile up Peter as long as he goes in knowing he has to stay cool and calm, and so that would be interesting to see how that worked out as well. And then there's a few individuals that it would be, I guess, somewhat entertaining to see them get into a yelling match, but that's all it would end up as is a yelling match. Like Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump, if they were to debate, it would just be a yelling match. I think, it would just dissolve into chaos. And so I don't know. I don't know if, what would be interesting is they keep floating around the idea of trying to allow Trump to run a third term. And if they were to find a way to get that, it would obviously open the door for Obama to run for a third term. And that would be an interesting race. But then that would probably mean the destruction of our country because everybody who followed Obama at the end of the election, whoever wins, they're going to follow Obama, and whoever supported Trump's going to follow Trump. And I almost feel like it would like split the country in half into like two different nations, with both of them being presidents.
Yeah.
It's a little bit scary. I really hope that they don't actually go through with this Trump third term bullshit. I think that's un-American, and I can't believe any patriotic Americans would support that whatsoever. It's ridiculous.
I- He seems to have backed off of that, which I know at one point he was really, really pushing it and trying to get Congress to act.
Yeah.
But lately unless I'm missing something, it seems like he's backed off. I would love to see Trump Obama just for the fun of it. Like
Yeah.
I would pay to watch that debate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'd be a good pay-per-view one. I would totally pay to watch that. No doubt. Uh,
With Pete Buttigieg, one of the little known facts is he actually helped Kamala Harris prepare for her debate against Mike Pence.
oh, really?
And in my head, I've always seen him like just trying to dress up as Mike Pence as they debate or practice debated, and it's the funniest thing in the world to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen that actually. Thinking about it, I was like trying to think, have I seen that? No, I don't think I've actually seen that. So I'll have to go look that one up. Cause that is actually funny. I think it's funny that I almost feel like, Trump wanted to lose so he could replace Pence. Because, like, I don't think him and Pence liked each other at all. Once Pence had got into a room alone with Trump, I'm pretty sure he was like, "Oh god. Ugh, gross."
I think in his first term, he was um, more saddled with, like, you have to think about reelection, you have to be, a little bit calmer,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I think one of the reasons why he's just so out there this time is because he's like, "I don't have to run for reelection, I don't care," and now we're starting to see Republicans like, you don't have to run, but we do."
Yeah. Well, and that's the hope, right? Is that they realize, okay, wait, he is irreparably destroying our party in a lot of ways. There are at this point there are like, and this is the one that is going to kill him. There's little old ladies and little old men that have voted Republican their entire life who are like, I think I might have to vote Democrat this next election, damn it. Because Trump is just, he's doing everything that he said he wouldn't, no wars if you want vote for Kamala if you want war, you know what I mean? And it's like all of a sudden, like we've attacked how many fucking nations now in the last year? But it's not war, you guys. It's not war. We're just bombing other countries on their own turf, but that's not war. It's
As one
ridiculous, man.
does.
Yeah, it's and kidnapping leaders and like what where is that guy? Do we even know where he
Uh,
is?
Last I seen, he was in New York. I don't know what happened after that.
Yeah, he just disappeared. They've disappeared that leader of that country. Like, and it's just like, it's cool, fine, why not? Fuck, man, it's crazy. It's so insane to me, like to just see where like things have gone. I mean, it was like I knew I there was a little bit of like chaos with Obama, but it was mostly just people that were mad, But like this is like chaos on a government level, and it's really crazy to see. I can't believe like I'm living during one of these, times.
I There's a meme that goes around every so often. Um, and it's a picture of a person with the label millennial, and then like the world's on fire around them and saying once in a lifetime disaster, like just over and over and over. And it's like I feel that in my soul.
Yeah. I do too. I mean, it's crazy because like we have like our entire life has been just like I've written about it before. Our entire life has been like war in the Middle East. All right, we're getting out of the Middle East. Just kidding. War in the Middle East. Yeah, we're getting out of the Middle East. Nope, back. Here we go. We're going back, boys. And then September 11th, and then war in the Middle East, and it's just God damn. I can understand like when people are like, "Oh, they're screaming death to America." It's like, "Yeah, I can understand why." Like we have leveled 90% of the Middle East. No wonder they hate us. Like I wouldn't love us. I don't I like, I love my country because I live in it and I understand it has potential, but like I don't love our actions like that, and so why would another country love our actions? Like, thank you for bombing me, man. Like, it's great. I appreciate you blowing up my house.
I Yeah. Uh, I think back to like some of the presidents I've lived through, um, Bush, Clinton, and they always seem to be like, "Oh no, we don't want to do this. We have to."
Yeah,
And then it comes out like with Bush, there were no weapons of mass destruction. Like the
yeah,
only thing I will give Trump credit for is he was like, "Yeah, I wanted to bomb the hell out of them." Like,
yeah.
like
And
he didn't make up an excuse.
yeah, that's true. I mean, that is true. At least you got to give him that, I guess. Like, but what is it about? We love killing leaders in the Middle East. Like, we just we that's like our favorite thing to do as a nation. We're like, we like look at the I swear, like someone puts on a blindfold and they play like pin the tail on the donkey, and it's like wherever they pin, they're like, we're gonna kill that leader. I mean, it was Saddam Hussein. And God dang it, Osama bin Laden. I mean, there was a leader of a country, the leader of, a terrorist group. And like, but either way, like we killed them, and now we've killed their leader of Iran. It's not funny. I'm laughing because it's so dark and horrible, but
Yeah, it's
it
one of
is.
those things. For me, it's one of those things. Like if I don't laugh, I'm gonna cry. Like
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It
it,
really
for
is.
me, it's not about party. This is just like you become president and you get assigned. Like you have to do this before the end of your term.
Yeah.
And I, I'm an outlier in liberals because I'm like, I think Obama was a good president, but there was stuff he did that I was like, yeah, what are you really doing there, sir? Like,
Mhm.
I don't think he's a horrible person. Like, he's not Trump,
No.
but um, but if I'm being honest, like, there were things he did that I kind of side eye him for. Same thing with Biden.
Yeah.
I think Biden was a good president, but there were things where I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah, my biggest complaint with Biden was the blanket pardons, and then the
yeah,
pardoning of his son. Like why I don't understand why Hunter shouldn't have to face justice. I get where like he didn't want it to be unfair, because the president Trump, might try to fry him for stuff, but at the same time, like it seems like he did some things that he should probably, have to answer for.
yeah. I I don't love that he pardoned Hunter after he said he wasn't going to. Even if I understand his reasoning for doing it, and we've seen time and again where the courts have actually, like, stood up and said, like, "Yeah, no." There's one instance where someone threw I think it was a sub at an ICE agent, and they tried to get him on felony charges, and the judge was like, "Yeah, no."
Yeah.
Or, when Don Lemon and there's another reporter who were facing charges and no grand jury would indict them. Like, they had to go
Yeah.
judge to try to do this, and I don't even think it worked then.
Well, and that's like what a lot of MAGA don't follow up. They just read the headlines and pay attention to what's like currently in the media. So they don't understand that like a lot of these things that they are in full support of end up being, constitutional violations or civil rights violations, on behalf of like ICE and these other organizations. For instance, I don't know if you saw it, but there's a video of a lady in the airport getting arrested by ICE that are in civilian type clothing, and the individual recording is like, "Let me see your badge, just so I know you're not kidnapping this person. Let me see your badge. Let me see your badge. Let me see your badge." I would be willing to bet dollars to donuts if that woman that was getting arrested ends up getting some sort of constitutional or civil rights lawyer, that she's going to be able to sue and win, and that's just money down the drain. Because why? Because why are they instructing their fucking ICE agents to not present their ID and badges? You know what I mean? That's driving me out of my fucking mind. Like, there's absolutely no reason for it, except for the so chaos.
Well, and I go back to what I was saying earlier. He knows good TV, and I think that's what he wanted here. Like, with ICE, him threatening to send him to the airport was nothing more than a threat because he thought, "Oh, they'll cave if I'm sending ICE because they don't want chaos in the airports." And Democrats were like, "Yeah, go ahead, do that."
Yeah. Yeah, it's just gonna end up making them look like, I don't know, any decent human being who isn't like fully blown into the Trump cult is going to look at that sort of behavior and be like, that looks an awful lot like the shit we grew up seeing footage of in North Korea and Soviet Russia and, communist China when it was at its peak. And so like it's like I don't see how any like freedom loving, liberty appreciating, American can look at that and think that's what I want for my country.
I think that's why we're starting to see this turn where a lot of people are, like, backing away from him and like, "Oh, no." And, uh, my My belief is you don't have to turn away from your conservative beliefs, but you can call out fascism when you see it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you can say like, "Hey, this is not cool, man." Like, you know, when ICE was in Minnesota killing those people, why? You know,
Yeah.
why why were they allowed to be doing that? And then was it Vance that said, "Oh, they have total immunity." Like, why would you give them total immunity unless you wanted to sow chaos and create this sort of narrative that you really don't care about American citizens.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's exactly it. Like, you don't give a police force complete immunity if you actually value the lives of everyday Americans. And also with that whole situation, like you're saying, why the fuck was it such a spectacle? You know what I mean? Why were they like going out almost like in parade format to go arrest illegal immigrants? You know what I mean? Like, there's a right way to do things and a wrong way, and it seems like it was just being done the wrong damn way.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think that anyone in this administration knows the right way to do anything.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's true. And it's funny because they're all against DEI, but every single fucking one of them is a damn DEI hire. You know, like they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're just hired because they're like, I want to include this guy and this guy. This was a good media influencer. I saw him on Conan one time and he was great. I love him. You know, it's like, what the hell is going on? None of these people know what the fuck they're doing.
Mark Wayne Mullins was a plumber, and now he's in charge of Homeland Security. It's like, how did we
Yeah.
get here?
It's like putting Dr. Phil in charge of like making Dr. Phil not the attorney, yeah, the attorney general or whatever, you know? Like,
Don't give them ideas.
I'm really surprised, honestly. What's his name? Gosh dang, I just forgot his name. The guy who
Except,
is Alex Jones. I'm really
oh,
surprised they didn't give Alex Jones a position. Like I was thinking like they're gonna give him something, right? Like something, like, and they didn't. And I'm proud of them for that. I gotta say, I'm proud of the whole Trump administration for not putting Alex Jones in charge of something. But I really thought they would.
I really thought that they were going to find a permanent position for Elon Musk.
Yeah. Oh god, that's sick. That's gross even. I used to love that guy, dude, and like talk about a broken heart for someone you don't even know. Like I can't like I'd hope that he would be, I know billionaires are assholes at their core, and selfish individuals. They have to be, but like I really was hoping that he would come around and no, he went the other direction.
I I know I'm in the minority, but there was something about him all along that bothered me. And then um, I read a piece by his ex-wife where she talked about how he like asked her out and she was like no, and he stalked her until she said yes. And I was like, that's why I didn't like you.
Yeah, no doubt. Holy crap. Yeah, I know I've read a few things like that, and I'm like, "Wow, man, I cannot honestly imagine that being the case." Like, I yeah, that's a little bit too creepy for my taste.
Like, and I get why people liked him. I really do. It was just I never did. It was one of those gut feelings I had where I was like, there's something about you I don't like, but I never went out of my way to like to read anything about him or anything. It was my ex who brought the article to me. He's like, I think this is why you don't like him. He because he had been a major like Musk fan, and
Yeah.
after he read this article, he was like, I don't like that guy anymore.
Yeah, I know, my lady, she, listened to his book, the, like, biography book that he, like, ghost writ or had a ghostwriter on, or I don't know if it was even a ghostwriter, but he went through and wrote the book with another person. Forget the name of the book, but, she said that everything he does now makes way more sense after that because he is like a top level narcissist, even by his own admittance, you know. And he also admits in the book that he has like no empathy, you know, he has no like pity for people who are suffering, you know, he doesn't care. And so it makes a little sense. She was telling me about it, and I'm going to listen to it, but I've got a long list of books I'm listening to or reading, and so but yeah, that's I mean, it's yeah, he's not a good guy, and that's sad because I wanted to believe that maybe he could be, but nope. Nope. Someone said froze up. What froze up? Um Brandon says if he was smart, he'd allow himself to be charged, resign the presidency, and allow JD Vance to pardon him, but he's too arrogant for that. Yeah. I mean, that would be a smart move, in order to keep himself out of prison for the rest of his life, Brandon. But you're right. He is too arrogant for that. He is too much of a narcissist himself. And that's why him and Elon both got along and also butted heads, is because they're
Yeah.
both the same level of narcissist.
And I think with that, the Supreme Court has kind of fueled this belief that he can't be charged for anything now because he can just claim that he was doing it under his official duties as president.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's bullshit. Like, I do believe that presidents should be charged, if they do something legitimately wrong. But also at the same time, I do understand where that would become like a serious problem. Like while Obama was president, they would have spent the entire time like charging him with crimes that didn't exist, and so I do understand where there is a little bit of like a different system that needs to be in play for a president, but there's gotta be an answer to keep people from just being power hungry assholes, you know?
I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, there has to be something where, like him calling Georgia and asking for them to find whatever it was, like 11,000 votes.
Mhm.
I don't understand how that's uh under the umbrella of being president. Like
Yeah.
that to me is more of a, I'm a candidate and I don't want to lose.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly I agree. It's like Jim, the historian, just said, "Well, the Supreme Court has ensured Trump is above prosecution." And that's relatively true. I was surprised with one of their recent verdicts, though. They kind of voted against like Trump and his administration's interests, and I was like, that's interesting. I wonder why. What's going on there?
With the
Um,
tariffs?
yeah, there you go. I think that's what it was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, wow, that's good news. Like they actually are realizing that those are dangerous. Tariffs are those are stupid. They're fucking stupid, dude. It's all so stupid.
It is. Lynette said, how could that, oh, I misread what she said. How could that ruling ever go wrong or bad? Um, I will say, I think that there's a possibility that we see presidential immunity overturned at
Hmm.
some point, like Roe v. Wade, mostly because it's such an unpopular decision. And even when they were writing the the decision, it felt like they were more like, we just got to give him a win here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that whole thing. It's that whole situation like has caused messes like all over the place. Here in Idaho, for instance, we've lost 30% of our OBGYNs, because they are afraid to, do their job, because it's up to a committee of, far right Republican assholes to decide if they've, done something that violates the rules. And none of them are doctors. They're just assholes who, want to control other people. And so it's like, they've just left because it's easier to do that than to sit here in Idaho and be in fear of losing your medical license. And so
Yeah.
that whole situation is screwed up. There's got to be a better answer to it. I don't want people just going and I don't want people using abortions as birth control. I do like, but I don't think people do. I think 90% of the people who have abortions don't want to use them as like Republicans try to say like birth control. The people I've known that have done it, it's not like it's a light choice for them. It's not something I've never seen someone that I've known have an abortion and not cry their eyes out afterwards because
E
of it.
exactly, and, Pete Buttigieg said the most brilliant thing, he was on The View, and he was debating, Meghan McCain, and she was, going with this theory that people were, like, going in and having abortion at, like, 8 months, and he looks at her and he goes, "No, if you made it to 8 months, you were planning to have that baby. Like,
Yeah.
you have that nursery ready, you wanted that kid, and there's a reason, a heartbreaking reason why you have to have it removed."
Right.
And
Right, and they were spreading that false narrative that you can have abortions all the way up until the day the kid's born, and it's like, if it's like an abortion to, like, save the life, but usually they can save the mom and the baby that way, that's the fucking point.
right.
An early termination of pregnancy doesn't mean that the baby dies. In fact, it can be quite the opposite at times.
Yeah. And I always surprise people, like, this is kind of a funny story. Um, I I surprise people because I'm pro-choice, I'm not pro-abortion. Like, as a gay man, I don't feel I have a right to tell a woman what to do with her body. Uh, but I was dating this guy, he was a cop in New York, and we we'd been together for 3 weeks, and he was like, "I want you to meet my best friend and his husband." And I had this really bad feeling about it, and I was like, "Isn't this a little bit soon?" And he's like, "No, no, it's fine." And I'm like, "Alright, whatever." Like, I like the guy.
Mhm.
So we get out, we go to dinner, and we're all talking, and his best friend was like, "What kind of music do you like?" I'm like, "Oh, I like pop, Britney, Madonna."
Right.
And the best friend goes, "You know he hates Britney, right?" And I'm like, "No, like, it's a little bit weird because if I don't like a song or, if I don't like an artist, I don't actively hate them, I just don't listen to
Yeah.
them."
Yeah.
And so they all got to talking about a mutual friend of theirs, and Doug had goes something like, "I can't believe she did that to him." And I was like, "What did she do?" And they told me, and one of their female friends had an abortion because, her and her boyfriend were having problems, and he didn't wanna stick around. And so they were, like, all up in I'm like, "How are you on this dude's side? Like, she's your friend, and you're taking her ex's side." And they're like, "Well, abortion's just wrong." Like, in that moment, I was like, "What the actual fuck?" Like, you don't know what went into her decision. You don't know, like, did she have someone with her? Was she alone? And I stood up, I'm like, "We are 4 gay men. We will never face this issue.
Yeah.
How in the world can you not have an ounce of empathy for someone who you claim is your friend?"
Yeah. Well, and that's as even as like as a straight man, I don't feel I have the right to tell women what to do with their body. That's why I agree. Like I am also pro-choice. I'm not pro-abortion, but that's once again, it's none of my fucking business. And that's kind of how I am like about everything, like that's the way I am, with, gay marriage is a no-brainer for me because it's, if someone says they love someone else, who the fuck am I to stand in their way? You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
like just it's not even on the same spectrum or level at all. It's like this is kind of a shitty example, but I'm going to use it anyways. I want to go, and I've been going and doing mining, for gold in the rivers of Idaho, and I'm going to continue to do so, and I'm going to pursue it, and for the next few years, I'm going to get better and better at it. There are people that don't believe I should be able to mine the rivers of Idaho, but because I am free choice, I say stay out of my fucking business. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Right.
not going to tell you how to live your life. Don't tell me how to live mine. I'm not hurting anyone. And in fact, I'm a conservationist who, when I do go get dirt from the river to check for gold, I put everything back. You know what I mean? I
Right.
don't destroy anything and leave it destroyed. And so, it's a shitty example because they're not on the same wavelength. But it's just, the example I had pop into my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually a really good example, like, I probably wouldn't do it, but it's not my business, you know? Like, you do what makes you happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like being physically active and in nature. I've never been someone like I don't like going to the gym. I prefer like real world workouts. And so mining takes, a lot of work, and that's something that excites me. I it also is seasonal. You can only really mine from like April-ish, sometimes May to like September if you're lucky, and then the rest of the year I get to write. So it's kind of a, perfect balance with writing, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
yeah, but that's off topic. But yeah. Anyways, I'm a live and let live type guy, as long as you're not someone who is like actively hurting people, like I don't believe a serial killer should be allowed to just kill whoever he wants. That's a choice I'll stand in the way of, but like outside of like decisions like that, then, live your life and I'll live mine.
Right, exactly.
So well, we're heading towards the end of our hour. This has been fun. It was a good lot of good conversations. Tell everybody who is listening where they can find you, how, and yeah, endorse yourself like crazy.
I am over at Coffee and Crime. I should be, um, coming back very soon with some really cool alternative history pieces that I've been writing, about the first woman president. Victoria Woodhull wins because of male spite, which is just it was really fun researching that.
Yeah, so here I'm gonna drop a link here. You can't click on links in the comment if you guys don't know for Substack Lives, but you can copy and paste it. So here is a link to Ed Anderson, and yeah, I want you guys to go subscribe to him, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And we'll have to have you on again, Ed. It's been great. I appreciate the conversations, and like I said, I'll see you in that secret society. And yeah, thank you for coming, Ed. I
Thank you
appreciate
for
you.
having me.
No problem. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.